I don't understand where he is to go to.
Coffee break.
Looks like it's windy out there in Hanford.
Let's see here. Probably got a fan on. All right. Oh,
All right, it's ready.
Okay, I got a question.
you and your questions. You got to count on it.
Where did you get the 6.3 days from?
Okay. Remember, every observed year is let's put it this way. Yeah, for converting an observed year to a prophetic year, you take the year and you divide it by 6.9 and then times it by 7, because every 69 years adds another prophetic year. So if you just, let's get your calculator out again, make you do some work.
Let me pull it up here.
We'll start with 4140 because that's an easy one. Or actually,
Okay, I'm ready.
so take 4140, that's how many observed years from Adam to Jesus
All right,
ministry, divided by 6.9
okay, 600,
times 7.
4,200.
So 4140 observed years is the same as 4200 prophetic years.
Okay,
So you pick up 60 prophetic years in that period of time. You know, so
Yeah.
so if you take 621 years to Enoch, so 621 divided by 6.9 times 7,
630.
630. So you pick up 9 prophetic years. So in every 621 years, there's 9 69s. And every time it's 69, you add another year. So in 69 years, let's just do 69. 69 divided by 6.9
10,
times 7.
70.
So every 69 observed years is 70 prophetic years.
Right,
Let's do 6.9. So 6.9 divided by 6.9
1.
times 7.
That's
7.
easy, 7.
So every 6.9 observed years is 7 prophetic years. And since hours, days, and seconds are all based on the same thing, you can say the same thing. So every 6.9 days is equal to 7 prophetic days. Every 6.9 hours is equal to 7 prophetic hours. So it's always the same. Whenever you have observed time, just divide it by 6.9 and times it by 7, you'll have how many prophetic years that is. So if you took 1260, a little bit different because now we're talking about prophetic years, but if you took 12, if you want to reverse it and say, well, how many observed years would that be? So if I took 1260 divided by 7, which would be 360,
180.
times 6.9.
1,242.
Yeah, so every 1242 observed years is 1260 prophetic years. So, and there's a reason, you'll see more how cool that is later on. But so, when we're talking 6,210 years from Adam to the Enoch generation, you're really talking 6,300 prophetic years. And so you pick up 70, or you pick up 90 prophetic years. and 60 prophetic years at the time of Jesus, and 90 to here, and what is 6210? It's 9/10 of 7, or 6300 is 9/10 of 7. So it's 700 years after, and that's when you get into the 1,000 years, judging and maybe shortened, blah blah blah. But anyway, anything over 6, we're into the 7th day, so, or 7th hour. So there's 24 times 6 is 144 hours, so 145 hours we're into the 7th, but it'd be 6 point something. 7 times 24 is 168 hours. So once we get to 168, then we're into the 8th. So when we say 1656 years from the flood, for example, do that one. If you do 1656 divided by 6.9 times 7.
1680.
1680. So just like there's 168 hours in a week, that's like 70, that's like 70 weeks, or sorry, 10 weeks. 168 times 10 would be 1680, right? But it's 10 sevens. So 1656 is 24 69s. It's also prophetically 24 70s.
Oh.
So just like a day, 24 hours. But anyway, that's why there's kind of a dual fulfillment. On one hand, that event occurs exactly at 6.9, just like Daniel's prophecy, the 69 sevens. It happens exactly on 6.9, but prophetically, it's also exactly at the 7th, end of the 7th. There's a little gap there. So it's pretty cool. It's like, exactly to the 2nd, the end of the 7th. And the next would be, part of the 8th, beginning of the 8th. So all those events happen, like 621 is 969s and 1035. Like they're all variants of 69, and then boom, it happens. So 630, to go back to your original questions, like, so 630 is how many prophetic, 6,300 or 630 or 6.3 days, and so 6.3 days is 151.2 hours. So it's not a surprise that when you consider the 152 years to the temple and 1,502,000 days till the ministry of Jesus.
Yeah, that's amazing.
See, I sprung that one out for about 10 minutes too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't need a lot of questions. Fill a question Q&A.
Yeah.
All you need is bar.
Yeah. Well, and then the number 10, because that was multiplied by like 10. So where does 10 fit in?
Well, because it's a whole, like one. If you divide any 666 number by 1.5, you get 1. So, or you get the whole number. So if you take 24 by times 6666, just try 24 times 0.66666.
15,99999.
Okay, so that's, and then just if you times that by 1.5, you get the same whole number again. But you might have made a little mistake there. Let me just double check here.
Yeah, I did something wrong.
Yeah, 15,999. So here's 16 divided by 24. That's 6666666, right? 16 divided by
Yeah.
24.6. So then just times that by 1.5, and you get 1.
1. Wow.
So the same thing with 10. 10 is just a bigger multiple. So if you take 6 times 1.5, you get 10. And
Okay.
it's, when you're so now you're looking at a whole number, right? And my it says that when would we enter God's rest? When would we enter His rest? And that even at the time of Jesus, like they still had not entered into His rest. In Moses, they hadn't entered into His rest. Well, when you take 6,300 divided by 7, that'd be 900 years of Sabbaths. And so it's like it's 0.9. It's the 9/10 of 7, like 63 divided by 9, is 7 times 10 is 70. But anyway,
Oh, yeah. Wow.
it just represents the whole. It represents
I
the
see.
whole number. And when Jesus came, do you remember a lot of the spirits, that when Jesus was exercising some of the spirits, they said, "Why have you come before the time? Why have you come before the time?" Well,
Mhm.
they weren't expecting him at that time. I believe they're expecting him at the 7th, and but all of a sudden he was there. And so you come before the time, and he silenced them, because only God knows the times that we're, and so
Yeah.
I just believe that, that the whole pattern of why would God change the pattern of the 7th when it was all through everything. And when you look at the book of Revelations, it's 40 times, 7 seals, 7 this, 7, and it always happens at the 7th.
Mhm.
And if you look at the book of Revelations, you'll see after the 6th, there's always a little pause. The 6th, and there's a pause, and then it starts with the 7th later. Well, that little pause is that little bit of time between the 6th and the 7th before time's no more. And that refers to that one generation that has that one last call, and then there's time no more. So but like I said before, if you have a scroll and every little bit you put a seal on, and then put another seal on, each seal has to be broken before you can read that part of it. And so for each generation prior to ours, the seal was broken, and Jesus did reveal, in their times, everything that was, that the previous generation hadn't seen. Like
Mhm.
there's things revealed in 1800 that they hadn't seen in 1500. And in our generation, it's the same. Why would it end now? Because in our generation, there's things there's the same pattern, but we're able to observe things because now we've observed more things in life than was observed a few hundred years ago. So we know archaeology, we know time, we know all this sort of stuff. So now we think we're so smart, with science and with this and that, and everything's happening, age of enlightenment and blah, blah, blah. We think we're so smart because we made all these observations. But those observations, if we, use them to look back at the Bible, they show things that, other generations hadn't seen before. So anyway. Any other questions? Oh, good thing we got Barb.
It's very fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, good thing we got Barb in there for the questions.
All right.
We're it's just, we're observing the word of God. He's supernatural. Everything that proceeds from him is from his nature. When we write something down, it proceeds from us. It's from our nature. It's human. It's temporal.
Yeah.
When he writes something down or gives something to be written, it's from his nature. It's supernatural. And it speaks to us today the same way because, and God's not shy from the very beginning, very first verse of the Bible. God's speaking creation into being. It's like it's so supernatural. He's never ever shy about being, God. But we compromise everything, and so we make them smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and we don't partake of living knowing that we serve a supernatural God and that He is coming and that He will empower us. And the more evidence we see, the stronger we get. You know what I mean? Like the faith is evidence. And Jesus, like I said, stood up to the gates of hell because he knew God. He was God, and he knew God face to face. He knew the Father. There's nothing that was going to make him deny who God was, or he couldn't.
Yeah.
And that's the faith he wants to give us. Is like, so we know who God really is, and that that there's evidence based, that we don't have. He says we come reason together, and so we don't have to be shy if some scientist wants to talk about evolution and whatever. It's like, let's talk about it. I'd love to. In fact, in the next one or two of these, I'm going to talk about how miserable, lacking the evidence is that opposes the Word of God.
Yeah.
And how they do it, how they trick, how they use tricks to do it rather than truth. So we have nothing to be afraid of. But by taking it little one bite at a time, it just opened, like we're going to do Abraham and Joseph and those guys soon here, Isaac maybe even next week, and you just see how each stone, like the more we add, the more living stones you'll see in that temple. You start to see those 46 boards around there, what they represent, and the generations and stuff, and then it starts to become easier to see ourselves in there. I mean, can you imagine some of our heroes from the Bible, we'd be terrified to live in some of their times. We wouldn't be able to even cope with it, but they'd be terrified to live in our time.
Yeah.
The evil that's in our time, and so as we go to approach them, in heaven and say, "Wow, I read about you. You're my hero." Well, it's like, yeah, well, I saw what you did in your time, and and all of a sudden it's like, well, us, well, we didn't do anything. Well, yeah, you preached, the truth in the evil world, and God powered you to do this and helped you do that, and we're all just human beings, but this call is from God, and so when we're doing these type of studies, it's looking at His evidence, and that's it. We're just observers, just and there's, but God wanted us to be observers. He wanted us to observe because when you observe, you can obey, or you can choose not to observe, and that's why all the enemy wants to do, in one form or the other, is have us not observe the Word of God, whether it's for unbelief, and that's why unbelief is the opposite of faith. So He shows us this evidence to build our faith, and He does it to clean out the unbelief, because we all drag unbelief from other testimonies into our belief system. So He wants to purge that out of there. Go, well, no, there's nothing to. Don't compromise thinking that. Oh well, I guess I believe the Bible, so I look stupid because evolution says it's not true. But I love Jesus, so I can't help it. That's good enough. But it also is, it doesn't have to be that way, because the truth is that God never needs anyone to apologize for Him or His evidence, because if it's against Him, it's always corrupt. It's always some, anyway, I'm going to do one fairly soon about that evidence, just to show the contradiction. So,
Okay, sounds good.
all righty.
Okay.
Well, thank you again, Sandy, and thank you for everyone's there. And hopefully by next week I can podcast into you from my own thing. So maybe we'll try to practice one sometime this week.
You're muted, Sandy.
We'll be here if you can't. Let us know.
Well, I'll maybe, if I podcast into you, then we could do the same way, but it'd just be for my thing or whatever. So maybe we'll try to practice one this week or something.
All right.
Are you posting these up on your site, Sandy?
I'm gonna start posting when they come from my own, so I'm just,
I mean, is Sandy posted about Bible explorations?
Yeah, they're on our YouTube, and then I think Christopher gets them ready or something and sends them over there, or he goes
Yeah.
and grabs them.
yeah, we're gonna
Okay,
upload them all and embed them or whatever, but,
they're all gonna be on. Good.
okay.
All right,
Well-
thank you.
Thank you. Have a good Sabbath, what's left of it.
You too. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.